With the unemployment rate being so high amongst our youth, we as South Africans really need a working department and a board that is for the youth. But yet, we are sitting with a dysfunctional board that is at loggerheads, chairperson fighting journalists, whistleblowers intimidated, trips to New York with no results, and so much more. The Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities sat in Parliament to discuss these issues. The tension between the chairperson and the deputy chairperson could be cut with a knife. I'm asking myself, so how do decisions get taken then when there is so much tension? And unfortunately, the people that are suffering will be the youth on the ground. Let's take a listen to this interaction and let me know how you feel about all of this.
With and who is doing it?
Okay, we have had one incident that I want to indicate on Chair without delving much on some instances that would have taken place. We'd have a board meeting and we'd have people giving instructions to certain board members on what the board meeting or how the board meeting should take that decisions. I think for now, Chair, I would want to maybe keep it there because I really want to protect the process because we've taken up the process to say that there are people that I want to put their hands into the affairs of the NYD, and we think that that is not correct. Even some of the divisions or some of the things that you have seen playing out in the media.
Now you're moving on to other things. You still haven't answered our question, and you're going to cause me to get impatient, and I don't want to do that. Can we please, Minister, I will come to you, please.
Yes, Chair.
The Chair has made a specific statement. You've said actually there is a lot of, a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, you said a lot.
Yeah.
Right. You've said it to members of both committees. Right. We are asking you a question. Tell us how this interference manifests and who, in your view or in your observation, is interfering. Otherwise, it becomes just a bold statement that you are making here that you cannot substantiate. And if that is the case, I'd warned earlier, if you are not certain of something, do not say it.
Yeah, yes, Chair, I agree with you. I said the first example would be we're sitting in a board meeting and there are people that are sending board members instructions on what decisions we should take in a board meeting.
How do you know that? Do they phone? Do these calls get taken in the meeting? How do you know that someone is sending instructions to board members?
They send messages, Chair.
And you get to read them?
Yes.
So the people show you the messages?
Yes,
as the Chair?
Yes,
okay. Who are these messages from? No. I will. Okay. You are not in a meeting out there. You are in Parliament.
Yes.
Who have you seen interfering with the work of the board? You said you've seen the messages.
Yes.
Okay. Who are those messages from?
To protect myself, Chair, and protect the process, I'm going to email you all the evidence that I've prepared.
Okay, Chair. Anyway, we are going to go around in circles. Can I assure you of something? We are not leaving this meeting without you giving us those people. Just know that. We might move on to Honorable Beasley now, but you must know, by the time you go home, you will have answered that question.
Definitely.
Okay. And you are not going to email it. You are going to say it here in committee.
Okay, Honourable Beasley, but I also want to remind both committees that in fact this was an issue that was raised in our budget vote deliberations when we were in Sandton, and it's one of our recommendations that we ask for a report on the alleged interference. It is contained in our report, and to date we have not received the report on the alleged interference. Honourable Beasley, your 10 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings, everybody. So I'm just going to start off with the comment. The latest unemployment figures came out, and youth aged between 15 and 24, unemployment rate is 61%. Between 15 and 34, it is 45%. This agency before us, we heard the word was supposed to be inspiring confidence, giving the youth hope. But the reality of it, what we're hearing today, you're giving it hopelessness. You, Chair, went on an overseas trip that cost over R1 million. There's an investigation into leaks into the agency. There's various whistleblower leaks. There's various press things. You can see that this board is not united, and it's a sad indictment what you guys are supposed to be doing for the youth of our country, and it really is sad because our youth of our country are battling, and they're looking at you guys and saying this is hopeless. So that's just my comment. Chair, you've recently taken, I think it was in court yesterday, you've taken a report, a gagging harassment order. What attorneys are you using? I believe it's in your personal capacity. What attorneys are you using? Can you answer that question?
Yes, Chair. The matter that is in court, it's based on the fact that, yes, we do acknowledge that there's freedom of journalism. It must happen.
No, that's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking you which legal firm are you using?
I'm not quite sure of the name. I don't have the names. Maybe COU can assist. Or
But it's in your personal capacity, this matter.
No. It's not in my personal capacity, Honourable Member. Through you, Chair.
Sorry, can I stop the time? Okay. You were in court yesterday. So, okay, I'm saying the matter was in court yesterday. You've submitted a sworn statement. I have it. I wish to remind you of what you've sworn to in court. I can read it back to you if you want me. So let me remind you for the last time. Please be honest with Parliament. Can you do that? Can you answer Honourable Beasley's question honestly? Otherwise, I'm going to tell you the paragraph in which you say you're raising this in your personal capacity. Okay? Please, Chair, please. Thank you.
The name of the attorneys, I think it's Pegati, but it starts with PH along those lines. Yes.
Yeah, just coming back to what the chair said and what you've said, you signed an affidavit that you're saying you're taking this matter in your personal capacity. I've got the legal papers in front of me. I can read it back to you. It says you're taking this matter in your personal capacity. Now we're hearing that it's an NYDA matter. So I'm clearly confused, and I'm sure the legal people and the people that you've signed this affidavit to are confused too, because you said it is in your personal capacity, not under as chairperson of the NYDA. So if you can just clarify, whose actual capacity is this under?
Thank you for that question. Yes, Chair, it is in my personal capacity, and the matter would have been relating to my responsibility as the chair of the NYDA.
But clearly, that should have been said in the papers that you're doing it as chairperson of the. You said you're doing it in your personal capacity. So if you're doing it in your personal capacity, the NYDA shouldn't be paying for it.
Maybe it's a technicality, maybe that I didn't see at that particular time. But the matter is concerning the work that I do as the chair of the NYDA. But the matter is still in court, and the issues are going to be ventilated when the time is right.
Yeah, I think for me it's quite clear that your affidavit is not correct, and that you've misled the courts because you've said it's in your personal capacity. But I will move on. Did the board approve this action as the board? Maybe I can ask the deputy chairperson. Have you approved this particular matter that the NYDA pays the legal firms for the chairperson in a personal capacity? Has this been discussed at a board level?
No, thanks. No, there's been no discussion of the chairperson's legal issues or whether or not the NYDA is funding it at all.
There's a word that comes to me. It's just how bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. I mean, this is the governance of our youth. Minister, surely, what do you say to this, Minister? I'm asking you this question. What do you say to this, Minister?
Chairperson, thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm asked a specific question on a specific matter that probably has not come before me on who is paying for the legal fees, etc. And it's a matter that I would definitely want to look into going forward. However, indeed, the issues that are in the media are for the chairperson of the board. The issues that are in the media, they are not for Dr. Sunshine Miyende as a person from her home. Everything that is even in the whistleblowing messages, they are about the chairperson of the board. What then the chairperson may have said in the statement that she presented to court, whether personal or whatever, then I think that might be the issue that we look into. I've not seen that.
Okay, but Minister, just to come back to you, that this hasn't been discussed at a board level. I mean, surely that should concern you.
Definitely, it will concern me if decisions get taken. In fact, things are done without court resolution. I mean, board resolutions. Yes, indeed.
Oh, we've just heard that it hasn't been done. So yeah, and then sorry, how much time have I got left? Oh, sorry. Okay, just quickly, this forensic investigation that's been taken into the leaks, was that a board resolution? I'll ask the deputy chairperson that one. This forensic investigation that's been taken into, when I say leaks, was it approved by the board?
No, there's no board discussion or approval of a investigation into whistleblowers. For context, the Human Resource Committee in our last board meeting brought a report in our in-committee discussion whereby two issues were on that report, was the Audit and Risk Committee appointment, as well as investigations into leaks into the institution, in which the HRCC was saying it is asking for terms of reference for the scope of the investigation and has referred the matter for board approval. Before we could finalize on that item, the meeting was adjourned whilst we're on that item. So as far as I'm concerned, I've never sat in any board meeting that has discussed the terms of reference, the scope of the investigation, which was brought to us by the Human Resource Committee, which did come to board approval. It was one of our last agenda items in the in-committee. And the then chairperson of the HRCC is also here. She can also confirm or deny what I'm saying. But I've never been party to any approval of any terms of reference for an investigation. I've also said publicly that I believe that an investigation into leaks which seeks to uncover who the person is illegal and is wrong. And something that I've raised as a concern both to this committee but also including to the minister as well, that these things are concerning, particularly because there was an RFQ that was released by the NYDA in that regard, which is pretty clear around identifying who the person is and going as far as recommending that the firm must actually recommend action against that person. So I then wrote and said, I believe that I don't think it's appropriate and I would like for us to discuss it at board. That discussion didn't finalize. The meeting adjourned before we could finalize or even discuss the terms of reference. There were discussions around whether or not the cybersecurity threats of the institution. All of those things were never discussed at board level. And I don't want to be part of any decision that seeks to suggest that that is the case.
Thanks. And then, I'm going to move on. And then the chairperson, this R1 million trip that you did to New York, in hindsight, do you think it was regrettable, bearing in mind the amount of youth unemployment that we've got in the country, that the organization is running at a deficit, that so many people could have been empowered, and you spent R1 million on a jaunt to New York, taking 5 or 6 of your colleagues with you? In hindsight, do you think that was wrong?
I think, Chair, considering what we came back from New York with...
It's just a yes or no. Is it yes or no? You don't have to just the yes or no. You're saying it...
I don't think it was regrettable.
Okay, thank you. And then, have I got any time left?
35 seconds.
35 seconds. CEO, have you ever declined a chairperson's travel request?
Have I ever declined? Not in my recollection.
And I can tell you, you won't because of the conflict of interest here. Thank you.
Quickly going to give 1 minute to Board Member Baloy, 1 minute to Makatini, then come to Minister.
But how do we drill down to the value for money that you expend, and also as well as the transparency for monies that are expended on beneficiaries? How do we drill down to value for money? Who's decided that? How do we work this out? Because I need South Africans, I need myself to understand that. This is a taxpayers' funds, okay? So how is it worked out that there's value for money for allocating this guy, and how does he qualify? Why does this guy not qualify? I'm trying to just simplify it in simple terms, chairpersons. So, again, maybe if it makes it easier, please explain then, what systems do you have in place to measure outcomes? Does that make it simpler? Okay, got it? So then I'll ask one more, and then you can reply, and I'll come to my final question, if that's okay. I just want to raise this issue now. My colleague raised the issues on numbers and finances, but simple English, guide me and guide fellow South Africans that are listening out there. So I've read here that your employee costs, Minister, in this department, in this agency, the employee costs is 268 million and odd. You can go and check it up. So your employee costs are 268 million versus project disbursements. Your project disbursements in the last financial year was 247 million. Okay, now just explain to me, just in simple English, no rocket science here. Your expense is 268 million, but your disbursements are 247 million. Your employee cost, wages, salary, employee costs 268 million, but you disburse to people like me that might be disabled or for some reason a maximum of 247 million. Does it make business sense? I don't know, but the esteemed gentleman there and the lady in the back there may be more qualified to explain to me, how do I get value for money? I pay you people 268 million rand, but you only disperse to local ordinary South Africans that might be disabled or that might not have opportunities in life. You only spend 247 million. So I don't know. Answer me. What kind of salaries do you people earn? I heard my colleague say you went on a jaunt to the Big Apple. First class, business class, I don't know. Please tell us, add that question there, CEO. What are the salaries of the members of the board? Someone just put it in there when you reply. Okay, and then, Chairperson, I'm going to stop there, and then I'll come back with my one final question when I've got some answers with your permission. Thank you.
Let's take the responses, please. CEO.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member, for that question. I'm going to try to be as direct as possible, drilling down to value for money for beneficiaries. I think first, it's important, we do acknowledge that it's an important area of consideration for every single expenditure, and it is a focus area for the agency to ensure that value for money is indeed derived. The second part, I think, in terms of the beneficiaries from the NYDA, they are both the KPIs in the APP that we measure value for money as to the young people that have been impacted through the various interventions of the NYDA as one measure that is based on your question, Honourable Member. But over and above that, to triangulate as to whether or not the performance as reported in the APP and as audited by AG also speaks to the impact question. That is why currently the agencies has undertaken the process of building an impact measurement framework to triangulate as to whether or not what we see in audited performance can also be reflected in the lived experiences of young people in society. A case in point is we have had scholars from the Wits School of Governance who've actually shared their own research around the grant and voucher program of the NYDA for the period between 2016 and 2019. And they were assessing as to whether or not that program is impactful or not. And what they found, Dr. Fotoya from the Wits School of Governance, that for every R1 that is spent on the grant funding program of the agency, R3.60 is generated in social returns. And so impact measurement assessments are then another measure to assess as to whether or not, over and above the compliance issues that the agency undertakes, to go a step further to determine as to whether or not the lived experience is felt. The struggle, I should acknowledge, Honourable Chairs, that we do have as the agency is that, for example, with the grant funding program, in the APP, we can afford to fund about 2,600 young people. And then I think something that it's difficult for us to consistently reconcile and address, but when you have a target of 2,600 young people in the context of 4.7 million young people in the NEET rate, when young people critique the agency and say we don't see the agency, we don't feel the agency, it then makes sense because 2,600 young people versus 4.7 million, we're bound to get that critique. And it's a critique that challenges, I believe, us around what more the agency should do to address that particular question. So I think that's an ongoing challenge to address the question of not only value for money, but also the extent to which we can reach more young people in making sure that every rand goes further, as Dr. Fotoya's research suggests. The employee costs in the public service, it does continue to be a balancing act, at least in our view. We agree with the assertion that there should be, when balancing the expenditure, more on project disbursements as opposed to employee costs. So we agree with that. The question I think that we are trying to address and are really grappling with is the extent to which human resources are required for the delivery of programs. And so that is why we've also undertaken a process to explore ways of automating some of our processes to assist in reducing the numbers of employee, the employee costs associated with the agency. But I think from a broader public service point of view, the question also becomes maybe in a different sector such as health or education. To deliver healthcare or education, can we deliver it through other means that can reduce employee costs by reducing the headcount? I think that's a debate that we would need to explore as to how we create those efficiencies in such industries. We face a similar challenge in the delivery of youth development programs. And so I think the continued guidance and support as to ways in which we can effectively do that would certainly assist the agency. But it's certainly an item that we are grappling with. And that's why I think even with the measures that are sort of in place that the CFO would have maybe highlighted earlier with the guidance of the Honourable Chair, are ways in which that can further support the agency going forward to create that balance in execution going forward. Honourable Chair, if there are other items maybe I would have missed that technically the CFO can maybe answer, then I would maybe request.
But Honourable Isak, you asked how much do board members earn, if I heard you correctly. You also wanted clarity whether the international travel was first class. You did ask that. Yes. So can we have a response to that before he goes to his final question?
There was no first class, Chair. But secondary to that, the issue of how much we get paid, I think that's public knowledge on the salary of the chair and the deputy chair. But maybe the concern would be around the non-executive board members. One of the challenges or one of the resolutions that we took as a board is to cap the board fees so that there's clear direction on the work that we want to do, the things that we achieve, but at the same time bearing it in mind the cost effects of that. So we've kept it at a certain amount of money, and then I think that would be part of our annual report when we appear in the portfolio committee.
Okay, so can I just provide further guidance? So it's not enough to say there was no first class. Say what class you flew. That's the first thing. The second thing is, can you just assist the committee further? I'm always uncomfortable discussing salaries, but those that are by law disclosed, say what they are. And if there is a per meeting or per hourly rate or whatever the case is for board members, you don't have to tally up for each board member how much it is. Just give the members the numbers when you have them, please, so that at least we get a complete answer. Can you do that, please?
The board took a resolution of capping the board fees at 60,000 per board member per month. So if anyone is exceeding that, then we then take it down. Previously, it was a bit high, and then we took a resolution considering our financial standing to reduce it and cap it at 60,000. And then when it comes to mine and the deputy chair, I think it's in the public domain. I'm really not sure on that.
Which is more reason why you should just say them, please. I mean, it's in the public domain.
I think it would be. Where's it? I think
You don't know?
I don't know.
You don't know how much you get paid?
Obviously, there are deductions, and so I'm really.
No. Just say what the total package is. I mean, it's in the annual report.
Yes, that's why I need. I don't want to mislead. That's why I wanted the Duma of Corporate Services, maybe just to indicate that on an accurate basis.
I see. Okay, so can you just say, what did you then fly economy? Did you fly business class?
I flew business class myself and the deputy chair based on the travel policy of the NYDA.
Okay, no, you don't need to justify yourself. You're just giving a complete answer. Okay, one last one.
We were going to go to corporate services.
Thank you, Chairperson. So the annual package for Chairperson is 1.2 million, and then for Deputy Chair it's 1,023,387. That's a total cost per annum.
So, sorry, through you, Chair, the 60,000, we kept it for the non-executive board members because it was increasing. So we took that resolution to keep it at 60,000 per month.
Mr. Nkabinde, you have mentioned that there are investigation or allegations. You are also investigating issues of sexual harassment, but it was just by the way comment that you have made. Can you please just give us details of what allegations you have received? Because I think it's very important that we get full details when it comes to those issues, considering that the people that we are dealing with here are the most vulnerable within our communities. We deal with little girls that want bursaries. We deal with little boys that want bursaries, little girls and boys or teenagers that would want to apply for opportunities, whether it's business or grants that the agency is offering. And what sexual harassment cases were you referring to? Because we're very unfortunate that this matter is brought before us and we don't probe it further. I think I'd like to pause here for now, Chairperson, while I wait for the response, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
You'll have 2 minutes left after the response. Let's hand over for the response.
Thank you very much, Chair. I become concerned when issues of sexual harassment are being brought forth. Understanding us as women, we stand in issues that pertain to gender-based violence. But I'm going to allow Mr. Nkabinde to also rein in on this matter. But to the sexual harassment case, and Chair of Scopa, what is quite exciting is that this matter is in the public domain, and one doesn't know how it got there. There's been a sexual harassment case that it's called sexual extortion that has been brought against the deputy chair, to say that he's offering people bursaries, jobs, like it's a whole lot of things. And I would have said, because this matter, it's one of the matters that I think that I would have brought to the executive authority, because I don't want to be conflicted in the matter. According to how we deal with such complaints, I'm the one that is supposed to be dealing with it. But I've resorted to say, Minister, this has come to my attention, and how best do we deal with this case? And it's a whole lot of issues, but the sexual harassment or sexual extortion does come out quite strongly in that complaint. But maybe I'll allow Mr. Nkabinde or Dr. Ntanda, in fact, to also maybe make additions to that. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks,
We'll take Dr. Nkabinde, and then we'll go to the 2 board members there. You'll have a minute each.
Thanks, Chair. I think the NYDA did mention the one for sexual extortion, and also promising programs of the agency or work within the agency for sexual favor. Thanks.
Zwide?
Thanks, Chairperson. Because this is a sensitive matter and we're in a public domain, I think we also should have consistency on this, because it's not fair, it's not good to come here and not be transparent to the board, because there were 2 sexual allegations alleged. It was not only on the DC, it was also on the CEO. So we should also address everything in consistency and not just, thank you.
Board Member Maua.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's so unfortunate that I have to agree with the honourable members that there are specific disagreements and divisions that you would then see play out. But I also want to say that it is unfortunate that, as we are pointed by the collective, we perhaps didn't have the same ideologies or aspects coming into the board, because it is going to be very difficult for myself, as an example, to agree with a 1.2 million that is spent on a career day and say, I agree with that, we concast as a board and we agree with. I cannot agree with that. I cannot agree with millions being spent on flights. Just flight tickets to go to New York with staff, maybe 3 staff members. What are they going to do there? How does that benefit the agency? Where have we seen the return on investment even till today? So as much as we do not want to look like we're a board that does not work together. There are things that we do agree on, there are things that pass, because work must continue. But there are things that vehemently I would disagree with, and I do not believe are in the interest of the young people of South Africa that we serve. And we cannot now lie or want to present a united front with things that are definitely not in the interest of young people, Chair. So I don't want it to look as if perhaps the divisions are caused by intrapersonal skills. There are issues that are at hand that we vehemently disagree with. Another example with even this forensic investigation is that some of the discussions that have been had amongst the whistleblowers, that you'd find certain members of the board saying they're going to open a case against the whistleblower. Then you see the intention of the investigation is to get names. I personally, as a lawyer, am against that. We need to protect whistleblowers. So there are issues, there's discussions in the board that we need to sign NDAs For what? We are a public entity. So when we come to such a platform, it becomes an issue for us to have a presented united form, because there are issues that we terribly disagree with that affect the people that we purport to be representing. So I do not want it to perhaps seem as it is just divisions that are caused by intrapersonal skills. There are serious issues that are at hand that we discuss at board, and there are serious issues that we literally argue with and disagree with, that even after team building, the team building will not make me agree with a 1.2 million that is spent on a career expo, that you can do it for free, by the way. With all partners, you can do it for free, but 1.2 million is spent. I do not agree with that, and I believe I will not agree with that even after a team building is had. So I think those are part of the issues. There was also a question that was raised. I don't want to take us back, just that it was not responded to, Chair, that was raised on legals. I just want to confirm to the committee that out of okay, so legally, we have 55 attorneys appointed on our record, but also I want to confirm that Pakedi Incorporated Attorneys, which is what the Chair was speaking about, forms part of that. I do want to confirm to the committee that that law firm is part of the attorneys that are on the list with NYDA. We've got, of course, 81, if you include everything, it's 81 contract management. These are MOUs, SLAs, MOAs that are signed with different entities. We have 18 letters of demand that have been sent by the NYDA. We've got 6 litigious matters that are currently in court, and we've got 1 matter relating to a pension fund, and we've got 4 recoveries that we are currently undergoing. Thank you.
Your last 2 minutes.
And what action has been taken to date?
Thank you very much, Honourable Member, for the follow-up question. Through you, Chair. When I received the allegations of sexual extortion and many other issues, as you would see, the articles in the media, it's circulating in all the WhatsApp groups, I would have called the Deputy Chair, as indicated in the policy. I would have given him the allegations that were brought forth. I would have then said to him, he must go and apply his mind. But my view would be, because I'm the one that is then supposed to institute or kind of investigate the matter, I would have recommended to him that we either take it to the executive authority, which is the minister, to investigate of his case through the relevant channels, or we get an independent person to look into the matter, because there are serious matters that myself as a woman, I wouldn't want to seem as if I'm protecting them or anything like that. That's what I would have done pertaining to the issue of the deputy chairperson. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, Honourable Zibi, can you please assist me? The chairperson keeps on saying, I will have. You have already received allegations. What I am asking, what have you done about those allegations? Have you spoken to him? Have you spoken to the minister? What are you doing to address them? Is he still in the employ? Has he been suspended pending the outcome of the investigation? What is the current status of how are you handling these issues? Thank you.
The deputy chairperson is not suspended, but as I would have indicated, I would have called him to give him the allegations. Then he would have said he's going to seek for advice, or I think you would have said legal advice or something along those lines. And then we are yet to sit again, but I would have advised the minister on this particular matter, because also through you, Chair, would have received a letter from the organised union around the similar or related matters concerning the deputy chair, and I would have given him both letters for him to be able to look at. And then I think it will form part of the things that when minister comes to meet the board that are going to be discussed. But as an organisation, we're standing with the victim, the alleged victim.
How often do you have board meetings?
Okay, board meetings, accordingly, we're supposed to have them quarterly to review reports from management that would first would have been processed through the board, different the management committees. The CEO has a committee that he sits with management. Then after the matters come to the EMC, which is the Executive Management Committee, which constitute myself, the Deputy Chair, as well as the CEO. After processing of reports, they then go to the board for finalization or approval in some instances. So it's on a quarterly basis, unless there's a special board meeting that needs to deal with a specific matter, and then those particular special board meetings are called.
Okay, so can I just take from something that you said when the honourable member asked about remuneration? So you said you kept it at 60,000 per month. That gives us the impression that it probably escalates beyond that, or it's previously escalated beyond that. What is the rate per meeting?
So it's 3,900 and, if not 64, 54, but I know that there's a 4 at the end, but it's 3,900 and something, almost 4,000. That's the rate.
Per meeting?
Yes, per meeting.
You do realize that to get to 60,000 rand per month, you've got to have about 16 meetings, actually more at that rate.
Yeah, but also it includes the different activities that board members will be attending on behalf of the board in cost of executing their responsibilities. And it also includes the committees that they sit in. It also includes that particular amount of money. But previously, the reason why we kept it, we saw that it was increasing. Then we decided that as a board, we must have good financial management ourselves. So that's why we kept it at 60,000, Chair.
Okay, all right. I'll let the members canvass that. So I'm assuming you've had a board-approved strategy.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, so there's a board-approved strategy, and you're supposed to get quarterly reports in the normal course because you're aiming to meet once every quarter. You get to meet quarterly. What reports serve before the board as a standing reports that you get as a board?
So the first one is around the operations or the organizational report that the CEO presents that includes all the activities from all the different components within the organization. That's the first one. Then the second one, we also process the reports from the board committees that get recommended to the board for noting or for approval. But we also get a report on the financial statements or the finances of the organization, if we can put it that way. Then also get a report on the internal audit on any risks that are arising in the organization. So in a nutshell was that. But we also get reports around maybe our investment, how many partners have we gotten, considering the work that we need to do. So we also get reports on those particular things. So in nutshell, it's the entire functioning of the organization that we process in board meetings.
Okay, so before I hand over to the members, maybe 2 or 3 questions from me. So when you have to have a board resolution, can you just explain how that works? Is it consensus first? Do you vote first time around? If there is no agreement, what then happens? Can you just describe
that? But we also get reports around maybe our investment, how many partners have we gotten, considering the work that we need to do. So we also get reports on those particular things. So in nutshell, it's the entire functioning of the organization that we process in board meetings.
Okay, so before I hand over to the members, maybe 2 or 3 questions from me. So when you have to have a board resolution, can you just explain how that works? Is it consensus first? Do you vote first time around? If there is no agreement, what then happens? Can you just describe to the members how that process works?
So we have never reached a point where we have to vote, and I think it's something that is clearly indicated that board members must be able to find each other on matters. We have never got into a space where we need to vote on a matter. So many a times it has been on a majority having a particular view on a particular matter. Yes, there have been differing views from onset, where individuals with different thinkings. So those have been there, but at the end of the day, the majority view would have prevailed at that particular point.
How do you work out a majority if there was no vote?
It's based on the views that get submitted. When, for example, we're debating about I don't know what example to make, but majority of the room, if it agrees on a certain perspective and they give a basis on what they're saying, obvious case being supported by what maybe the management will be saying. I'll make an example of one of the discussions that have been there. There's been a discussion around posts that were supposed to be advertised. And the view would have obviously been based on the fact that do we have the available budget to make that particular decision? And then the CFO or management through the CEO will provide that basis of making that decision. So the decision doesn't come from nowhere. It would have been through that particular guidance. And even if it means it's a legal guidance that we must seek or sort, then that particular exercise is undertaken.
Okay, so what happens when there are strong views on an issue? There is, some people are chiefs, others are pirates on the mat, and they may never agree. What happens? You then take a vote. You said you haven't had to take a vote.
No, we've never voted on any matter.
Okay, so can you say you've agreed by consensus then? I'll tell you why I'm asking. It's apparent to the members that there's lots of conflict on the board. So when you say you have not had to vote, the assumption is you agree by consensus. But then if you also don't agree by consensus, I then have to wonder, so how do you get to a point where you guys are at each other's throats here? You understand you understand where I'm coming from? Mm-hmm. So, Chair, you're not the only one who needs to answer, by the way. I'm not frying you. Your colleagues are also on the board, but I do need to understand how the board is functioning. I've got 2 more questions, and then I think Honorable Matuna had some questions to ask as well. And other members, if you do, you can put up your hand.
I'm not sure. Do you want me to?
No, you are the chairperson. So if there's another member that you think can assist, please, you can say you are the general.
No, I'm not the general chair. Yeah, maybe we can allow others. But what has happened, Chair? Yes, others have had their different views, and some members would have then said they are going to register their different views through the portfolio committee or through the minister, whatever. But the different views would have been registered accordingly to say this particular person didn't agree on this particular view. But when you come out of a meeting, I think the corporate governance does require us to have an agreed view. We've had different views from day one. So I think it's one of those issues, Chair.
So here's why, and I'll ask my 2 questions, and I'll hand over, right? Here's why. So you've just said, for instance, some people might get in touch with the portfolio committee. Now, as a parliamentarian, I am all for Parliament as an oversight body being appraised by organizations. But you see, that kind of thing is also a problem. The board is a corporate body, right? Sometimes in a board meeting or in any meeting, there might be 10 of you, there might be 3 of you out of 10 who are not happy, right? That doesn't say you must now take it outside to try and get the internal decision changed by outsiders. You understand? That's not the role that we are supposed to play, because we're also not supposed to interfere with the agency. We're supposed to conduct oversight. You understand? So I am saying this in a way also, don't want to say mentoring, but also just to say, when that sort of thing happens, even if people feel they're doing the right thing, it has got serious implications for the cohesiveness and effectiveness of the board. Because you invite people from outside to get involved in the day-to-day, because what was discussed yesterday, I'm not happy with. Final question from me, right? So please take that feedback, and we will say what needs to, at least I will say what I think you need to provide to the committees after doing some work. When, and I'm not asking about individuals, please, what is your procedure? And I think Honorable Maduna, one of the members asked, what is your procedure when there is a complaint against management, a member of the executive management, one, whoever they may be, not the nature of the complaint, let's just say a serious complaint against a member of the executive? What is your procedure? Explain it to the committee. What is the procedure when it's a board member? Can you explain to the committee? So start with incident number 1, procedure number 2. So let me play open cards with you. The reason I'm asking this, there are several instances where you said we escalated to the minister, we escalated. You see that? The minister is an outsider too, by the way, on day-to-day matters, right? That's a concern for me, in the sense that you are dragging the minister into your internal affairs unnecessarily, right? That's what it appears like. Can somebody explain the procedure in these 2 instances? And then I will go to the 2 honorable members. Okay, Deputy Chair has had his hand up. Do you want to start, Chair?
Yeah, I will start, Chair.
I'll come to you.
Yeah, I think the first one, honourable member, is that our first encounter of having dispute or issues being raised amongst board members was a discussion, or was a fight between.
I am trying to avoid getting into those. Just describe the procedure. Yeah,
yes,
please just describe the procedure.
I want to explain the process and why then the minister comes in.
No. Leave the minister out for now. Just say, in terms of our internal procedures, this is what is supposed to happen. That's all.
Okay. I think CEO and Mr. Nkabende would have also explained that when a matter is concerning the chairperson, I'm going to start with myself, according to the NYDA policy, it gets referred to the ACT chairperson as well as the executive authority. When a matter is pertaining to the deputy chairperson and other board members, it gets referred to the chairperson. When a matter is pertaining to the executive, to the CEO, it gets referred to the ACT chairperson as well as myself. When it pertains to executive directors or management, it goes also through the CEO as well as the internal investigation or HR processes. It gets processed at that level. So that is the process, Chair.
No, thank you very much. Honorable Matuna and then Honorable Tia.
No.
Oh, my apologies. Oh, Deputy Chair, I am so sorry.
Your previous point, just for context and clarity, there is, from where I'm sitting, there's no board member who has referred an issue of the board to the portfolio committee or to the minister when there's been a dissenting view. What has happened is that if, let's say, some don't agree, they will say to the company secretary, please register my dissent in the minutes, but that I do not agree with this resolution that is being taken. But subsequent to that, there's not been an escalation to the portfolio committee or to the minister. I, myself, as the deputy chair, wrote to this portfolio committee for the first time when there was an issue around the board failing to complete a meeting. So the only time I'm aware of, at least, I wrote to the portfolio committee to say there are some governance concerns I'm concerned about. I'm elevating it for now because I think over time this conflict can be serious, and I wish to bring it to the portfolio committee's attention. And I think in the absence of that, I'm unaware of any item where there's a discussion, someone's not happy, and someone brings it to the portfolio committee or to the minister. I'm unaware of that. I think all of our disputes have been internal, and we take resolutions like that. And I do still stand, by the way, by the comments I put on that letter, and that's why probably you see some of the things playing out the way that they are, because I would have highlighted there is some strain in the board, and these are some of the challenges that we're facing.
All right, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I completely understand your question. It is a question that I myself have posed. This is also something I can send to the committee. On the 5th of October last year, we were discussing as a committee, in fact, the panel that will sit for the ARC processes. And the minister we were told, because I also don't want to say the minister was appraised because I was not there, but we were told that the minister has been appraised, or the minister has been consulted on a matter that even the board has not resolved on, or there's no board meeting that's set to say we can now take the matter to the executive authority. So on this email, I write, and I quote, and this was addressed to the COSEC because now it was a governance process, where I say that, COSEC, may you please confirm if, as the COSEC, you are the one that reported to the minister of the process as it was adopted by the board and through sharing of minutes, which have not been adopted by the board as yet. It is my understanding that the ministry, as EA, receives a report which is first tabled before the board and then sent through. So I want to say there is a pattern in the board where we will just be told the minister says this. The minister, without even receiving a proper communique either from the minister or receiving a written response to say, no, this is the discussion that was taking place and this is what the minister advised. Another example of this would be when the minister, as stated in this meeting, that she advised that a process be halted of ARC as well. It was sent in the meeting. That letter was sent in the meeting. So we didn't even have an opportunity to read through it because now we're just told this is what the minister is saying. And we cannot even authenticate some of those things. So I just want to say it has been a challenge where issues have been escalated, or we've been told that issues are escalated to the minister, and then the minister's advice is given through the chair without any concrete evidence, and we just take it as a board to say, no, this is what the minister has said. And with regards to meeting, with specifically how the meetings are run, there is no specific vote that is taken. So the chair will take into consideration what all members have said. So if I was in support, basically she would count it. So it's not a vote, as we say, we are putting it to a vote, but she say, okay, this board member agreed, this board member agreed, this board member didn't agree. So by virtue of that, 2 board members agreed, we are moving with this item. So that's how things take place. Thank you, Chair.
Can I add just one final question? I'll come to you, Honourable. Is that then noted in the minutes of the meeting to say these were the views expressed by the board? When you get the minutes, is that reflected then?
Thank you, Chair. So the manner within which our minutes are drafted, and this was a resolution that was taken by the board as well, one that I believe that was a bit problematic was it does not speak directly to some of the discussions that took place, but just a mere summary of what, just to say they were deliberations on, but sometimes not even the context of it. And this is what the board decided on. It was not a COSEC thing to say, this is how you write me, this is what the board decided. The minutes are going to then be reflected. So sometimes the recording of the meeting will then play a bigger significance in exposing the true nature of the discussions that took place within the meeting. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much.
One of the problems that we have in South Africa is the question of whistleblower protection. I sit in the Justice Committee and we are even initiating an international trip to go and benchmark how other countries are dealing with this question. Now, I think that is what we need to deal with. We have not had sight of what you call fraud, corruption and prevention policy. That is the one that you were talking about. That is the policy. You call it fraud, corruption and prevention policy. Now, in terms of this fraud, corruption and prevention policy, I want to check it against the objects of the Protected Disclosures Act as to how does it articulate itself when it comes to the protection of employees from occupational detriment for having made a disclosure. That is number one. If I can just get that, I'll then go to another one, because like I would have said, I'm taking interest in us interrogating this policy so that we see if it is in line or it doesn't endanger whistleblowers.
Chairperson, did you get the question? Yes. Okay. Can you assign a response?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to request Dr. Ndanda as well as our ACT to respond on the questions. Thank you.
And also, Chair, when you come back, were your devices hacked? Because I remember you also during a press conference said that the reason why you're looking for the people who leaked information is because your devices were hacked.
Yes, Chair, because at some point I would have sent a letter to the Minister, the Deputy Minister and the Acting DG, and that particular letter found itself on the media. So which means there is something fundamentally wrong. Thank you, Chair.
Can we get the response to Honourable Tsotetsi?
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. Honourable Member, I think I want to make a distinction on the ongoing investigations and just give clarity, because the conversations around the table are also misleading based on what has been reported on the media over the previous weeks. So there's 2 items or distinctions that we are investigating.
Just pause. There's an intervention by Honourable Tiamo.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Taking cue, Chair, from how Honourable Zebi was dealing with the issue, I will come back later to deal with. I just want to deal with your policy against the object of the Protection of Disclosure Act. Then if you can just deal with that, and how does these objects find expression in terms of your own legislation, then we'll come back to others later.
Okay, I was coming to that. Okay, so I'm responsible for risk management. Investigation lies within my unit. So what we are doing, there's 2 items. First, it is the investigation on the unauthorized leaking of information that we find after meetings. It's leaked, and it's information that would have been maybe around 4 people. Hence, we thought maybe there's a cyber breach within the institution, and we wanted to correct that. I think the chairperson has highlighted around why we wanted to do the investigation on unauthorized leakages, right? It is not to find who the whistleblowers are, but it is to protect the entire organization. Number 2, on the one of the you've confused me here, Mr. Kavinda. On the one of the investigation on on whistleblowing, those we have appointed forensic investigators. In line with our policy, we've got a duty to protect the whistleblowers, but also to investigate the contents of what is being reported. That is outlined in our policy, and it is my responsibility. The chairperson also highlighted an important thing, that risk management is independent. I think my unit is the only unit that can investigate the board, senior management, and everyone else in the institution, obviously following the what has been the delegations, but I've got that responsibility to check those allegations. So all the allegations that have been reported, either the CEO or the chairperson, are currently ongoing with our forensic investigators to check the truthfulness of those. And once the reports then have been completed, we have a responsibility to share them in this platform. I think that's what we want to do.
Yeah, let me just note this, Chair. You know, what you are saying to me is that I have got a responsibility to protect the whistleblowers. And later in the sentence you say, according to what has been also canvassed earlier on, is that the terms of reference that spoke to the appointment of whoever must investigate also says to them that after having investigated, you come back to us and tell us what do we do with such people. I might not be phrasing it the way you phrased it, but in a nutshell, that's what it says. Now, what I'm not getting from you is, of course, the textbook says that you must protect whistleblowers. The law, in terms of the Protected Disclosures Act, expects you to do it. The question that we do not get a sense of in practical terms is, how do you do it, if you do it? Because remember, my issue is to say, this law, is it in sync? We can't have an internal law about whistleblowers that contradicts the broader act. And that is the point that I'm trying to make. But perhaps maybe deal with this one later also when you come. That policy of yours, how far does it go in providing remedies in connections to any occupational detriment that is likely to be suffered by those that make a disclosure? And the third and last one, you'll come to them, and after you've answered them, maybe I can just make my...
Do you have a minute left after that?
Now, maybe perhaps just deal with them. Now, that very same policy, does it provide for procedures in which an employee can make a disclosure in a responsible manner or a safe manner? Because I think if it does, there will be no need for whoever has been making these disclosures to try and weaponize members of parliament against the entity. You will have a situation whereby they'll say this is the procedure of raising the query if there is financial issues that I think I'm picking up, without necessarily weaponizing members of parliament, the minister, the president, including the media. Because this is what will then inform our conclusion to say whether we're dealing with whistleblowers or we're dealing with the disorderly behavior of people who are fighting and they are leaking information about each other. So let me pause there.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Honourable Member. So the policy does outline the procedures of how whistleblowing or employees can make disclosures. And just to highlight, when the reports come, we've got an independent fraud and hotline number where either employees or external stakeholders can report. When that report comes to us, it doesn't even disclose who has made the allegation. So the whistleblower SA will give us that these are the reports that have been made, and then we take them to test the allegations. So we sometimes don't even know unless a whistleblower has came directly to us and told us that these are the allegations that they want to make. In that instance, we 100% protect in line with the Protected Disclosures Act. We protect the whistleblowers members, and there is no way where our scope of work says find the person who has reported such. We are not interested in that. What we want to uncover the truth, if indeed those allegations are true. And then you asked me, how do we protect whistleblowers? I think I've outlined. We don't know who they are, and if they do come to us, we don't report them. And then you said, how far does we go to protect those who have? It's our responsibility that we must protect them. I don't think there has been any a whistleblower who has been outed in the organization. Even the ones that have been sending emails to all members of parliament, some of them have names. We don't even follow up. We don't follow up on them. We just do the report based on the findings. We then respond to them. We might not copy you when we respond to the whistleblowers because we usually just report to them based on the allegations. That is also part of us protecting. Gavin, do you want to add?
Deputy Chair, you had your hand up.
No, thanks. Chair and Honourable Doteti for the question. I think for me, I've got a serious concern around some of the answers that have been given relating to this specific investigation. particularly because there's a request for quotation that has been done by the NYDA that specifically says it's looking for an investigation or forensic services firm to uncover who is the person who is leaking information to journalists, media houses, etc., etc. And specifically because I've been hearing this come out a lot, that we are not trying to find who the identity is. Now, I'm concerned because I would have raised this within, for example, our board meeting. I said, guys, explain to me why exactly are we doing this? Why are we trying to find out who is leaking information to the media about our documents, and then also go on to say, recommend remedial action that must be taken against such a person? I asked the question, is that person protected by the Protected Disclosures Act? If a person within the NYDA decides that the deputy chair's travel to New York is expensive, they take the travel records, the invoices, they give it to a journalist, they give it to the portfolio committee or any oversight institution because they believe it's too exorbitant and it's wrong or there's some wrongdoing, is that person protected by the Protected Disclosures Act or not? And they didn't answer that question. If the answer is yes, why are we spending money trying to find out who that person is? Do you aim to fire them? Do you aim to demote them? What is the point? But the reality is that there's an RFQ that has been commissioned that specifically says that whichever firm that's appointed must trace the origin of information, but specifically identify individuals or entities responsible for the leakage. And that if the leak was intentional or not, whatever. It even goes further to say they must probably even refer this thing to the Hawks, SAPS, or whatever. And if there should be occupational detriment. So the impression or idea that the NYDA is not trying to find out who the person is who's leaking information. There are 6 documents that they're saying they've leaked. We don't know how. Among some of the issues include cybersecurity threat possibly, but specifically the leak, who's leaking information. And the question I asked, is that person protected by Protected Disclosures Act? Must we take action against employees who are reporting wrongdoing, not only to this committee, but also to media houses or whatever the case may be? And that question was not answered, and perhaps this committee must answer if whether or not such action is appropriate or not. And if we're not trying to take action, why are we spending money on it? Why are we hiring a firm? What's the point? Number 2, the idea that there's a cybersecurity threat on the NYDA, that we've been hacked. I've never said in any official, I sit on the ICT committee. It's a committee that assesses ICT-related issues. We've never processed anything that has to do with the cybersecurity threat of the institution. I've never had any CIO, acting CIO, say to us that we are under a cybersecurity threat. The chairperson of ICT is also here. So I don't know where this is from, the idea that we are hacked or the NYDA is hacked and therefore we must procure those services, etc., etc. So if it's people's personal views that they believe they are hacked, I think it must be clear. But if there's a professional view that says the NYDA is, we believe is hacked, we must look into it, then it must be put in writing by those responsible. We've got people who are hired in this institution to look at IT-related issues. They must come out and tell us that we've been hacked and we're hiring someone for that. But this RFQ is not limited to being hacked. It's limited to finding out who the person is. That is the fact.
The RFQ does say find the source. So what do you want to do with the source? Dr. Mbata, and then we need to move on.
Wasn't the colleague over there the one who was explaining what this is about? Who's answering the question of, because the RFQ does say find the source and how they did it.
I wanted also to provide a context on the source, Chair. Because when we defined the source, the problem is that we have had an issue of leaks, which was concerning even to us as board members, because we don't know who to trust, even in terms of sharing information through the social media, through our WhatsApp platforms and whatnot. We took a decision as a board to actually the management was mandated by the resolution of the board to appoint someone who will investigate what causes the leaks that we have within the organization. So the context of the source came on those bases that we do not trust anyone. The information that is leaking, really, you can tell that it's information from the board level. As a result, if we do not know the source of the leak of the information, it will become a problem. Then that of whistleblowers, we have never said that we want to provide person who will investigate whistleblowers. But the context of the source was to find out if ever we have issue of cyberbullying or cyber attack or whatnot. But it was never really to say we want to identify the names of whistleblowers. Thank you.
Okay, so can I read to all of you what the RFQ says? Because we are now going to have to resolve on people misleading this body. That's what you guys are doing. So let me read it to you, and you will tell us if we've got the wrong document. So basically, the document says that it has got the purpose and the issues are conduct an independent forensic investigation into the leakage, not into the veracity of the claims, into the leakage, okay, of the following issues: head office building assessment report, recruitment report of independent audit and risk committee, the ARC members, the list building supply chain management reports, and the board chairperson trip to America. B, identify the source or sources, method or methods, and extent of the information leaks. Identify potential sources and channels of confidential information leakage. So let me start over here with you, ma'am. You informed us just now that you are investigating the veracity of the claims. This is not what this RFQ says. Is there another one that perhaps does what you told the committee that that's what you were doing? And perhaps this one is you were not aware of?
That's the correct one, Chair.
So why did you tell the committee that you are investigating the veracity of the claims and not say you are investigating the source, despite the honourable member asking you if you are investigating whistleblowers or not?
Source of leakage.
Yeah, but you all insisted that you are not investigating the whistleblowers. The honourable member was very clear he's concerned about whistleblower protection. And you did not know we've got this document.
No, Chair, investigating source of leakages of how those documents you've just outlined were then distributed outside NYDA.
Which means the person who is basically telling the media or a committee or the president, you want to know who they are. That's the whistleblower.
Or hacked, or we might be hacked. Someone might be hacking our gadgets, Chairperson.
Okay, but did you get a report to say that your system had been breached?
No, but the reports that are on the media gives us that indication that we might be hacked because we can't account as to how confidential information are at public disposals after our meetings.
Can we then agree that you wanted to know who provided the information to outsiders? If that happens to be the whistleblower, then so be it. You want to know their names and you want to know how they did it. I don't think we should play semantics here.
That is the no.
The whistleblower can be an employee of the organization who feels that something wrong has been done and they decide to tell an authority, either the minister or the president or parliament or whoever. That's the whistleblower, and you colleagues were trying to find out who it is.
That is what they're trying to do.
No, can you, I'm talking to the colleague here. That's what you guys were trying to find out. That's what this RFQ says.
No, Chair, we don't agree. We don't want to find the whistleblower. We want to find the source of the information or where the information is being leaked, but not the person.
What if this information is so what if you get to the whistleblower? How do you know that this is not the whistleblower? Because you know already. The information has been sent to the minister. You know the information has been given to journalists. You know the information has been sent to the president and whoever else outside. You are trying to find out who that is. That person is clearly not using that information to get a commercial advantage in a tender, because there are different leaks. Somebody may get leaked tender documents ahead of their publication. You would be well justified to try and find out who that is. But if you're trying to find out who told the minister that this happened over here, you are trying to identify the whistleblower. Clearly, because otherwise you don't know who did. Am I missing something?
Chair, if I can just try and mediate this point. Section 6 of the Protected Disclosures Act means that, or articulates, I'm unable to list it as it's written in the Act, but if someone does make a protected disclosure in the procedural manner, they are then protected in terms of the Protected Disclosures Act. I just want to balance identifying the whistleblower, and then if that report has been done in an appropriate manner, the question of identifying the whistleblower and then that person then being a subject.
The chairperson has spent 1 million on a trip to America or whatever, I'm making an example. And then you then say, as the entity, that this information was not public information, that the board chairperson has spent 1 million or whatever. And then you take out an RFQ to find out how did it become public information that the board chairperson has spent 1 million on a trip in America. Is that what the RFQ is saying, the one that is out there? Honorable Nkabinde.
Chair, can I kindly come through, Chair? There's a clear distinction, I think, on few matters. My background, I would have done forensic criminology at school, so this is not something that I Google. I think the first thing, Chair, it's not a secret. Because when you're whistleblowing, you're unraveling something that is hidden, fundamentally so. It's not a secret that I went to New York. It's not a secret the issue of the building or how much NYDA is paying towards a particular building. This will be in our reports that are public domain. But what we have seen out of, and what is a concern for us, and in this particular matter, I'm referring to a letter that I would have read myself to the minister and the deputy minister and the acting DG, and it got leaked to the media. So it means that there's a fundamental problem maybe within our system. And also bearing it in mind, Chair, that I get emails from young people and every other day, maybe complaining or submitting their business proposals. And in South Africa, you know that we've had a challenge of intellectual theft where people steal young people's businesses. And if it means that as the Chair I'm hacked, that is a serious concern that I think should be looked at. And I think that's something that we would want to also indicate. The RFQ is out there because the NYDA doesn't have a capacity, an internal capacity to look into the source aspect, but the allegations that are being raised is within the NYDA's capacity to be able to look into that. If they're saying that I stole 71 million, then they must look into the system how the 71 million came from NYDA's account into my account. So that one is within our capacity to be able to look at.
I'm not, with respect, Board Chair, I think maybe you'll give the Chair the time. I'm asking Mr. Nkabinde a question here, and I'm trying to simplify this point so that we make it very easy for South Africans to understand.
Mr. Nkabinde.
Thank you, Chair. I think on a lighter note, it's public knowledge that the Chair did. I will specifically to this one, that she did a trip. But now, the wrong narrative, now 1 million is spent, you see. And so it means, in other words, it means that trip Chair undertook, it was not supposed to be undertook because initially...
No, sorry, Mr. Nkabinde. I'm asking a very simple question because I'm trying to understand what your RFQ is looking for. I think that's what we're getting at. I'm making an example. The board chairperson has traveled to America and spent 1 million. The people of South Africa don't know how much was spent there. And then it was maybe discussed in finance or discussed in audit or whatever. And then that information of how much money was spent, we agree that this is private property of the NYTA. Then that information finds itself in the public domain. Are we following? I just want to understand that we're following the same thought process. There's this amount of money which is spent. It's private information of the NYTA. Then through whatever process, this information then finds itself in the public domain. Your RFQ, as it is written now, it wants to understand how did these amounts find themselves in the public domain? Is that what your RFQ is looking for?
What we want to look for, it's especially when our officials, they are doing a business trip or conducting the work that they're supposed to do, is as if now they are wasting money.
No, Mr. Nkabinde. I'm not talking about wasting money. I need you are saying you're hacked here. We're talking about information. Let me oversimplify it further. You want to find out how private information of the NYTA finds itself in the public domain.
Yes.
That's what I was simplifying. Yes. Now we're saying to you, and this is why we find it problematic, is that the nature of whistleblowing, that's why it's called whistleblowing, is that you take private wrongdoing that you discover, whether it's in a municipality, whether it's in a university. I sit in the Portfolio Committee of Higher Education. There are a lot of wrong things that would happen in universities, but that is not information that the public has. It will be in the office of the CFO and what, and then a staff member. Maybe let me remove it from you guys so that you can get the understanding here. Someone who works in the CFO office, let's say in the University of Limpopo, then says, this thing, I know that this is confidential, but I'm going to then take this thing and I'm going to whistleblow. So your RFQ wants to find out how that process takes place. And that's why we're saying to you, even if you can try to speak around it, maybe it's not a question, Chair, I'll just end it here. Even if you want to speak around it, you are looking for whistleblowers. That is the fact of the matter. And we take strong exception to this. And you can try and spin it however way you want to spin it. But trust me, we take exception to what you guys are trying to do, of paging whistleblowers, of taking journalists to court. But I'll come back to it when I speak, Chair. He doesn't have to respond. If we can do it on days where there's no house, so that we've got the whole morning and afternoon with the NYTA. I think, Chair, maybe we'll start with this point because I was quite taken aback when I arrived here, and then members of the board were accusing each other of sexual harassment. You know, maybe let me not call you comrades, I don't know, but you're very young, like for those type of low politics. I mean, we are politicians, we exist in the political space, we fight all the time, but once you want to weaponize GBV against each other, it's so low, it's so destructive. The CEO must still go and work after this. The deputy chair must still go and work, even the chair, even all of you. Beyond, this is 3 years that you are here. Now, if you are going to say the CEO is harassed, or the chair or the deputy chair has harassed someone, whereas you don't have a complainant, you don't have anything, it's so wrong. I really want you guys to reflect on that. You may have whatever differences that you have with each other, but don't character assassinate each other, whereas using the plight of GBV, considering what we're dealing with as a country. So I just thought I must address that point. It's so wrong. It's wrong what you did to these two comrades. But anyways, I think the problem I've always had, Chair, with NYD, and I think I raised this when we're doing interviews. I don't know why there's an executive chair and executive deputy chair. I don't understand it. Because if you think corporate governance, if you think how entities are supposed to run, you have got a board, an accounting authority, that is actually supposed to be meeting quarterly. That's why when the chair said quarterly, I was shocked that how can an EMC meet every 3 months? It means you meet 4 times a year. That's an operational structure. Supposed to be meeting each and every day EMC because it deals, the whole point of operations, that's why if you read, it says day-to-day activities of the entity. You can't ever see an EMC meeting 4 times a year. That's unheard of. So the executive chair and the executive deputy chair are suffocating the CEO. Can't operate. Because essentially you've got 3 CEOs in the NYTA. That's why even when we come to the meeting, Chair, I haven't heard the guy speak. I don't know, maybe he spoke before I came. Because it's the board. This board is way too operational for what the board's supposed to do. The CEO doesn't have time to run the entity, doesn't have space to run the entity, because every time he must take decisions for whatever he has to do, he has to consider an executive chairperson. He has to consider an executive. So if we're going to get this entity right, and maybe it's a policy discussion that we must have as a committee. I know committees are allowed to introduce amendments to the Act and all of those things, because the problem of the Act. The NYDA will never be able to run efficiently when it's got 3 CEOs. That's why the executive chair speaks more than everyone in the meeting. When in actual fact, when we invite entities, the chairperson of the board will open the meeting and give us a high-level vision and mission, and then hand over to the CEO to lead the discussion and the presentation and respond to all these things. But I don't blame the CEO for not saying much, because you have got these 2 CEOs here that are at loggerheads with each other. And really, I feel very sorry for him. I don't know how he runs the entity, because we've got this structural problem. So I think that's the main problem here. The issues of the board, Chair, I think really we'll have to sit down and reflect on what we have to do. I think it's becoming very apparent that some of the contradictions here may be irreconcilable. But we still want to have hope that they're irreconcilable. You know, I listened to the former honorable member, the honorable member who spoke before me. I don't really like administration as well, because I don't like power that is centralized in the hands of one individual. So once you speak administration to me, it means you want to give Minister Chikunga a full authority over the entity. And I do not want politicians involved in those type of things, because I've got my own gripe with executive authority and what it does when it's got so much power. So I don't know what intervention we can have over this board. And it's so painful, you know, Chair of Scopa, you may not know, but when we were interviewing this board, I think it was probably the first time where all political parties agreed on their names. We just had one problem with some ANC Youth League guy, but once we shifted him, we're very happy with this board. So the TM has spoken. So we were really so proud. It got all the different demographics, LGBTQI, persons with disabilities, a representative of, and we're hoping that they would come on board. I don't know if they can find it in themselves. We may be asking for too much, but I don't know if they can just find it in themselves to just work together, these comrades. Like without us doing anything. I don't know if they can find it themselves. And I think they need to have that discussion with each other. There's clearly a contestation of very egotistical contestation between the chair and the deputy chair. And maybe they also need to sit down, because the honorable member is correct. I don't blame these board members. You must take a side. What must you do? Because they are both executives. This one is the chair, this one is the deputy chair. If they are fighting, you are forced to side with this one or that one. So I just thought I'll make those comments. Just a few questions here to understand what is happening here. Honorable Paisley, I may be mispronouncing his name. I just want clarity on this from you, chairperson of the board. You are engaged in a personal case with the journalist of Sunday Times, and you are utilizing the resources of the NYDA. I just want to know if I'm understanding it correctly from your point of view.
Thank you, honourable member. Even if you got late, we missed you in the sitting. Maybe Chair, just that was on a lighter note, but I think the case, it's not. If it was sunshine, was sitting at home, it was going to be fine. But I'm being taken to task because of my capacity as the chair of the NYDA. If I was not the chair of the NYDA, I was not going to be having this particular matter. And I also don't want, Chair, for us to get into the nitty-gritties of the case, because the case yesterday was postponed, I think, to a date later on in August, because the fact of the matter is that the case is deeper than what is being presented currently. But when the time is right and it's in the court and it's ventilated in court, then all the details will be outlined.
That's fine, Chair.
Thank you.
Does the NYDA have a policy about how law firms are appointed to represent the NYDA? Is there like let's say it's not you, let's say a service provider is taking the NYDA to court because they didn't win the tender or whatever, I don't know, and then they take it to court. How does the NYDA then decide that out of these 50 or 40 or 30 law firms that are in our role, we want this one to come and represent us?
Chair, can I request the CFO respond to that? I'm not the one who's responding to issues. Maybe through your CEO, I'm sorry. CEO, then CFO.
Thank you very much, Chair. The process is run by the legal services. There is a panel that's appointed. The legal services division within corporate services does the process internally.
So what is the process?
May I ask the executive director of corporate services who looks after legal services to outline? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. So there are rates that we have with the services provider, but they still follow the same SCM process. So what we'll do, we'll then send an RFQ to SCM using the same panel. They need to quote us before they can be
thank you.
allocated.
Did you send an RFQ for the law firm that is representing the board chair?
I'm not too sure.
But they said you are the one who runs this thing is legal. So who must respond to me? Because the chair said I must give the question to the CFO. The CFO says this thing is being run by legal. And now you are saying you must release an RFQ as legal. And I'm asking you a very simple and straightforward question. Was an RFQ released for the law firm that is representing the board chair in their case against Sunday Times? So who must respond to me now, because you are giving it to someone else?
Chairperson, I'm not privy to this information.
So who must respond?
Thank you, Chair. Currently, the person that is responsible for that is the legal manager. She's not available at the moment. We can request that she...
No. You're not going to run away from this question. I'm not asking about an individual. I'm asking about a process.
Yes.
Now, wait, let me take you through this. I'm asking about a process. You sent me to the CFO. CFO sends me to legal. Legal says the first thing you do is to issue out an RFQ. Now I'm asking, was an RFQ issued for the law firm that is representing the board chairperson? It's got nothing to do with who is absent and who is not here. It's either an RFQ was issued or it was not issued.
We will not be privy to that information because we don't deal with the SCM process of appointing from the legal panel. That is why I was saying we can request it to be written.
Which role do you perform in the
I'm
entity?
a company secretary.
As a company secretary, are you aware of any RFQ that was taken out
I'm not
for the
aware.
law firm? You're not aware?
Yes,
Thank
which
you,
is why
company
we are requesting
secretary.
the legal
Are you aware of an RFQ that was released for the law firm that is representing the chair?
I'm not.
You're not aware. Thank you. CFO, are you aware?
No, I'm not aware.
So, board chair, can we accept here that there was no RFQ that was issued?
Honourable Member, I'm not operational, as you would have indicated.
But you're an executive chairperson.
Yes.
You've got EMC. You are in charge.
No, I'm not in charge. There's a CEO that deals with all those particular issues. There is management that deals with those particular issues.
CEO, are you aware of an RFQ that was released?
Honourable Member, I think I would be dishonest if I answer directly around the awareness. AG did advise in the previous cycle that where there is a panel, there needs to be an established process, the one which you are requesting. My expectation is that there is that process that has been followed, but so that I'm honest, I would need to verify that so that I can answer it honestly.
No, that's fine. Thank you, CEO. Now, Chairperson, will you agree with me that the people that are representing you against Sunday Times, in your case, if those people are appointed and the standard process was not followed, that you are engaged in a financial misconduct there?
I think, Honourable Member, firstly, I do not know them, as I couldn't even remember the name, and I think because the legal manager is not present.
No. I'm giving you a hypothetical scenario. I'm saying now you're a board chairperson who's got a fiduciary responsibility over the entity. You then discover that your lawyers were appointed, they are going to be paid, and there was no due process that was followed in their appointment. Would you agree with me that that would mean you are engaged in a financial misconduct?
I wouldn't agree, Chair.
So what would you call that?
Sorry, my Honourable Member.
What would you call that?
Because I'm not privy to the information. I don't.
No, Chairperson, I'm not asking you about this case. Okay, maybe let me take it to the Deputy Chair, because since you don't like each other. Let me say there is a law firm. Let me say there is a law firm that is representing the Deputy Chair. And that law firm is going to be paid by the entity. And then you, as the chairperson, you later discover that this law firm that is being used by this Deputy Chair and the money is being taken from the entity, there was no due process that was followed in the appointment of the law firm that is used by the Deputy Chair. Would you agree that engagement that the Deputy Chair is engaged in is misconduct, is mismanagement of public funds? Because no due process was followed.
I'll make that decision, Honourable Member, when I've been provided with the relevant documentation and the relevant processes that were undertaken at that particular time. I think CEO that is responsible for operations has indicated that at this particular point, we're not in a...
Chairperson, can a company be appointed in the NYDA without a due process?
I doubt that is possible.
And if that were to happen, what do you call that?
It would be financial misconduct.
Thank you very much. So, and that's all we wanted from you. I think, Chair, then we'll try and write to the entity to find out if indeed the processes were followed in the appointment of the law firm that is representing the Chair against Sunday Times. Something that is very problematic in our view, considering media freedom and what we want our entities to be doing. My last question is to the Minister. Last time you said to us that on the issue of ARC, you have handed over the investigation to Treasury and you are waiting. How far is that process? Because we're sitting with this crisis here because there's no clarity on what must happen with the Audit and Risk Committee.
No, thank you very much. We received the report from the National Treasury investigating team. I think today's Friday. What's this day? Today's Friday. It's Thursday. I think on Tuesday. So I've not had time to read and to apply my mind on it. But otherwise, it's something that is already before ourselves. But also maybe just to take the opportunity, Chair. Honorable Lunzi, it's very rare that I will agree with him. But I want to agree with him on the issue of the executive chair and executive deputy chair. It is a problem, Chair. In fact, we're talking about it even in the morning. And I think the department told us that when they brought the bill, the amendment bill, it actually was suggesting a non-executive chair and non-executive deputy chair, because it is problematic. What we're experiencing here, I've never experienced it, because with other entities, big for that matter, you have the chairperson who's non-executive. Sometimes you don't even know the deputy chairperson, because you interact with the chairperson and they go home, they do their work, etc., etc. It is a problem, and as a matter of fact, if the portfolio committee was to agree, would bring the amendment bill tomorrow.
You please bring it, Minister.
For the so that they finish their term, we'll say they finish their term as executives, but going forward we have non-executives. It is a problem, I must say. It will remain a problem.
I'm glad we agree on something, Minister.
At least.
No, my last point, and then I think I'll submit my other questions in writing, Chair, is when do you think we'll finalize I know you can't give us an exact date, Minister, but surely you will have a timetable roughly. When do you think we'll finalize this thing of Audit and Risk Committee? Because one of the biggest problems, a lot of the questions that were asked by members of Parliament here were around what is the process if there is corruption, if there is fraud. And then if you read, there is actually an NYDA policy on that. I don't know why no one on the other side mentioned it, whether it's staff, whether it's board members, because there is an NYDA policy that speaks to that. And at the center of that policy is the Audit and Risk Committee. So if we've got this lull on Audit and Risk Committee, then we're never going to be able, these problems are going to be persistent. So just my parting shot, when do you think we'll be able to finalize this process? I know Treasury only spoke to you on Tuesday. Maybe you'll give yourself a week and two, and then you must still consult. Just a rough estimate. It doesn't have to be a set date.
No, thank you very much. I wish I'd read the report for me to know whether they are saying let's go on with the process that already has unfolded, or we redo the process. Because if that is the case, it means advertising, etc., etc. That would therefore inform us about the timelines. But I think one definitely would want to finalize this matter as quickly as possible, whether it means redoing the process or starting the process afresh. If it has to be restarting the process, then of course you want to do it within say 2 weeks or so, if that is what the National Treasury report is advising us to do. Thank you very much. Maybe the last one, Chair. The young people that are seated here, Honorable Loans, they don't have irreconcilable issues. I can tell you that. It's just that it's young people. And sometimes it's good that maybe...
So when was the first time you met the attorneys?
That's why, Chair, I'm just requesting just 2 minutes for me to...
No.
I'm getting an indication that it was on the 3rd of June.
So that is the first time you met with them?
Yes.
The legal manager arranged it?
Yes, the meeting.
Okay, so the legal manager you guys said is not here?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so can I just ask, why did you tell the court that the matter is in your personal capacity?
Because the issue, Chair, as I would have raised earlier, if the matter was being raised on me, Sunshine, as an individual, or maybe as a mother, it would have been a different case. But the case is based on my current work that I'm doing as the executive chairperson. And that's why maybe, Chair, I wouldn't want to dwell much on the case, as it's something that is still in court, but it's based on that particular thing. Because even the case...
No, Chair, you're not... Okay, I must confess, I am very interested in the nitty-gritties and I'd love to spend the next hour, but I understand there are limitations. That's not where I am. All I'm asking is why, because pertains to expenditure. So let me tell you what we now know. We know there was no RFQ. We know that the gentleman is the head of legal, or the colleague over there, head of legal. They were not aware of this. Remember, you are the board chairperson. I am mystified as to how you are able to reach several levels down and the legal manager miraculously knows that they're supposed to procure these attorneys for you. That is where I'm lost, and I don't think that can wait until some time we meet in the future. Can I ask you a direct question, and I need you to be clear with the committee? Did you ask for this law firm to procure it for you so that you could do this? Because we also know there was no board resolution or anything of the sort.
I never asked for a specific law.
That's not the point. Did you ask for a law firm to be procured for you for this purpose?
I asked for legal services based on the matter on hand.
Who did you ask?
The legal manager.
How is it that you are talking to the legal manager when you are the chairperson of the board?
Okay, obvious case through the CEO, I would have raised the issue. Okay, maybe just a background context, Chair, on this particular matter. It emanates from but now it looks like I must get into the...
No, don't get into the detail. I am asking a governance question.
Yes.
You are the chairperson of the board. There is chief executive reporting to the board and to you, right? There is, who is in the reporting line? There is your colleague, the head of legal, right? Chief executive doesn't know, head of legal doesn't know, legal manager somehow knows. So that's why I asked you, who did you tell you need legal services, and then they went and procured?
My first interaction, or the person that I interact with on operational matters, it's obviously the CEO.
So you asked the CEO for the legal services? Is that what you're telling us?
I would have asked for a legal opinion or legal advice on the particular matter.
No, don't say I would have.
I had.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, Mr. Chief Executive, did you have this conversation with the board chair?
Yes, I did, Honourable Chair.
Okay, can you just tell us what were you asked to do?
I think firstly to solicit, consultation and legal advice regarding this particular matter, and of course referring it to the relevant officials in legal services in the agency to provide that guidance as to what should be done with respect to this inquiry.
Who did you speak to?
Spoke to the legal manager specifically.
Okay, and the legal manager's boss you skipped?
The legal manager's boss was aware of this request.
Okay, I thought to Honourable Lunzi they were not aware. Did you hear that? You heard that when Honourable Lunzi was asking. I mean, they're here, so maybe we can clear this up right now. Did you or did you not know about this procurement, head of legal?
Chair, I do apologize. I'm not privy to this information.
Okay, CEO, you now need to help us. So you were aware that the person who deals with legal services, the head of legal, you didn't talk to them. You went and spoke to the legal manager.
I did.
Who happens not to be here.
No, I did, Honourable Chair. And practice is, of course, to consult with the ED responsible for legal services. Perhaps if it was not the case because the issues are many at the agency, then that would have been an oversight. But what we do is to consult with one another, and of course for the legal services to then provide the necessary support.
Were you aware that the processes would then be circumvented? The normal processes that should take place. Were you aware that there would be no RFQ or anything? So the board never discussed this. The board chair just discussed it with you. You then skipped the head of legal. You went and spoke to the legal manager, who in the circumstances is very small in the context of the organization. And they also went and flouted the rules as well, because we've established that the process wasn't followed.
To be quite honest, I'm very cautious to say that processes were flouted. I would want to verify that, and my expectation is that processes are not flouted at all. And it's something that I would want to take quite seriously, but it's not an expectation that processes would be flouted, but we would want, for the purposes of the inquiry of the committee, to provide that, in essence, the steps that were taken to give comfort to the committee if a wrong or right thing was done.
You were here when Honourable Lunzi was discussing this, going around the room trying to find out about process. You were here in the room, right, when that happened?
Indeed, Honourable Chair.
And you didn't intervene to say the process wasn't flouted. Honourable Lunzi eventually ended up at financial misconduct, but you said nothing. But now you want to send us something in writing to say the process wasn't flouted.
I think, Chair, apologies, I'm sensitive to not mislead or give inaccurate information. That's why I would have preferred to verify it first before speaking with authority on the specific issue.
Okay, so the committees will make a decision shortly about when we talk to you again. Let me just say this. I'll come to you, Honourable Maduna, just now. Let me say this, Chair. So the matter is going to conclude in court, and it's likely to conclude against you. So let me explain why. The statute you used is to protect victims of harassment and abuse, primarily by their partners or people they know. It's because they've got a fear of physical harm a lot of the time. It's not a statute that is used to deal with defamation and the like. I have heard, so I want you to know this. When the court delivers its final judgment, sub judice will not exist. You will be back here together with everybody who participated in the decision. The step that you've taken, and I'm saying this in order to avoid getting into the nitty-gritties of it, is an abuse of process. And it's also an abuse of public resources. It also exposes you to perjury, because in paragraph 2 of your papers, you say you're doing this in your personal capacity. Okay. When this matter is done, I want to assure you, you will be back here. And these committees will want full accounting for everything that has happened. People who have difficulty with a news organization that is sending them questions, and I've had a look at the appendages to your affidavit. It's just questions that the journalist has sent you. If we had more time, and it's just that we've got the portfolio committee here, they want to go home. We sit here until midnight. I would have asked you each of those questions and then asked you if they amount to harassment. It's simply called accountability. So you use a statute that victims of GBV use to get an interim restraining order at the magistrate's court, so that their partner can come back and explain later why it must not be made permanent. You used it on a journalist. The court will find against you, in my opinion, and when they do and send you to the High Court or the press ombud, we will call you back, together with everybody who participated in the decision, and we will want full accounting in detail. That's all I just want to leave this at. That's what we'll do. That statute is there for victims of harassment, from stalkers, all of these kind of things. You've appended emails where the journalist is asking you questions, and you're telling the court that you have an apprehension that what may happen, because you get asked questions. All of us get asked questions by journalists all the time. So I will leave it here because you're hiding under sub judice. But I just want to